YouTube is now the world's biggest media company, eclipsing Disney, according to MoffettNathanson, and how to solve the problem of navigating streaming sports. Listen on.
Welcome to this week's edition of Inside the Stream. This is Will Richmond from Video News, and Colin Dixon from In-Screen Media is here with me as always. Colin, how is everything for you?
It's great, Will. The weather is perking up here in California. They say we're going to be 87 degrees on Monday. We're recording here on Thursday, and it's another beautiful day, blue skies, and you got a little R&R in Florida last week, didn't you?
Yeah, but importantly, we have a little bit of spring has sprung here in the Boston area, 70 degrees a couple of days ago, although it's turned a little more seasonal now. But a lot of the snow that we had accumulated in the past couple of months has now melted. So it's and of course the days are longer now, having sprung the clocks forward. So
yeah,
it's
always
a
struggle that. Getting up in the morning. But talking about the sun seems to be shining on YouTube these days. Some new data floating around which shows the extent to its dominance of the TV scene, right?
Yeah, so we're reacting to our friends at MoffettNathanson. Michael Nathanson published a report earlier this week with their sizing of YouTube based on publicly released data and some calculations that they've made, and also trying to compare it to kind of where it fits into the overall ecosystem. So top line is they believe that YouTube revenue full year 25 came in around $62 billion. That would actually be larger than Disney's $60.9 billion. It would actually be slightly less than the combined Paramount, Skydance, WBD company, which would be about $66 billion. We talked about them last week. So they kind of extrapolate from that. If it was to be a standalone publicly traded company, YouTube might be worth on its own somewhere between $500 and $600 billion. And we'll keep in mind that Google acquired YouTube for $1.6 billion 20 years ago. So nice growth there. Also, just looking at the revenue growth, that MoffettNathanson said looks like 14%, came in at 14% in 25. It was actually down from 19% growth in 2024. There's a real impact there of the political spending in 24. And also important here is that YouTube has really evolved the business from the purely ad-supported model that it started with to now also generating, they think, about a third of their revenue from subscriptions. And that would include YouTube Premium and YouTube Music, and then, of course, also YouTube TV. So about 2/3 now from advertising, and the remainder from subscriptions. And they actually expect subscription growth, revenue growth, to exceed advertising growth in the coming years, and estimate that there's probably about 143 million YouTube Premium subscribers now, 10 million YouTube TV subscribers, 1.5 million other subscribers, primetime channels, Sunday Ticket, etc. So just a couple of other quick data points that they pointed out, expecting low double-digit percentage revenue growth per year for the next 3 years, 2026, 2028, with operating income growing from $8 billion in 2025 to $13 billion in 2028, although operating margins slightly declining from 16% to 14%, primarily due to advertising. So overall, a very, very optimistic picture of YouTube, also really underlying how embedded YouTube has become in the overall media landscape. Of course, way, way beyond their roots in user-generated content. So we talked about YouTube in the past, topping the Nielsen, the Gauge numbers each month now. And the MoffettNathanson numbers help us scope out just how big that business has become.
Yeah. It's really seems to be a very, very durable business. One thing that jumped out at me in that report, Will, was this phrase at the end of the summary at the beginning, and I want to read it because it really does summarize, I think, what both you and I do believe about it. The report says, in a world filled with business model concerns, YouTube's global scale and innovative offerings create an uncommonly high moat. And I think that's really true. One of the unique things about the YouTube model is that it is forcing people, companies that are competing for TV time with YouTube to be on YouTube and to help YouTube. We talked about this, I think, a couple of weeks ago with respect to the BBC. The BBC is launching now new content specifically on YouTube to appeal to younger people, even at the same time as it's losing market share in the television space to YouTube. So that really is a bit of a conundrum. But one thing that really did sort of cement this for me this week was that Disney launched Verts, which is a vertically oriented video, hasn't quite launched. We were checking just in the Disney app just before Disney Plus app, and it's not there yet, but they're launching this week this thing called Verts, which is vertically oriented video, which plays much better, of course, on mobile devices. And we talked about this actually when Disney announced this. This is a sort of company effort to create more mobile content and at the same time leverage creators. Now, this initial release is really focused on curating Disney content and putting that Disney content into this vertical format, making it easy to find and search on phones and swipe through. So that's happening, but they do intend to try and compete with the YouTube model here. They've been very explicit about the fact that they want to encourage people to create content that sort of enlarges upon and leverages Disney IP to publish on Disney Plus in this vertical format. So that is certainly Disney's attempt at trying to co-opt the YouTube model, perhaps to generate more interest and bring younger people onto Disney Plus. And this thing about this being a high moat, I don't know about you, Will, but if I were looking to publish content that I wanted the most people to see, Disney Plus would not be the place that I went to do it. I would probably use YouTube or maybe Instagram or TikTok or something like that, rather than Disney Plus. So I'm just not sure that this effort would be successful, is going to be successful in co-opting, this sort of creator community and getting it working on Disney Plus. What do you think?
Right. I mean, I think that the idea that creators would exclusively post on Disney Plus seems like a stretch, but they could post on both Disney Plus and on YouTube potentially. And we also don't know what incentives Disney's going to offer to creators to post on Disney Plus. So there's some uncertainty there, but just stepping back from what creators do, I like the idea that Disney will be sharing vertical videos of highlights of their own IP on Disney Plus. I think that makes the Disney Plus service more engaging and puts them kind of in step with services like a TikTok or YouTube Shorts, for that matter, Instagram, where users are looking for short hits of content. And of course, the Disney library is so rich that assuming they do that in a constructive way, which I think they would, that could be I think a really nice augment to the Disney Plus experience.
Yeah, I do too. And, they're also doing this, of course, in ESPN. And here it works beautifully, right? This is exactly what you want in a mobile experience. You want to be able to quickly get to the highlights of the game last night so that you can show people, oh, did you see the game last night? You can actually show them the goal or the basket that was particularly impressive. You can find it right there and swipe to your heart's content. So I think there it's a very, very clear value add. I'm just not sure it's going to be very appealing to the creator community in Disney Plus, but I guess that's something that they're going to be rolling out. One thing they could be doing here is that they could give people sort of a free pass on the IP question on the Disney Plus app. If you create it here, you'll have the tools and access to the IP that you can't get on YouTube, and maybe they will prevent people from releasing the videos they release on Disney Plus on YouTube. But then again, if they were to do that, then it becomes that less appealing, right? Because then you just don't get seen. But I guess we'll have to see what they actually do with that and if it can be released in both places.
Right, and that Verts feature is supposed to launch imminently, it seemed like, from the articles that you and I read. So hopefully we'll get some more clarity on that soon enough.
Yep. And I'll be looking at it because this motivated me to actually put Disney Plus on my new phone. I hadn't put it on there. That shows you how important Disney Plus is to me. So I guess I'll know as soon as it shows up.
Well, let's move on to the next topic, Colin. We're talking a bit about sports. We have March Madness going on. So some new research from Hub underscores just how messy the sports landscape has become for fans.
Yeah. We've talked about this many, many times on the podcast, Will, and this data from Hub really crystallizes how big a problem this is. They say that 87% of fans say it is at least somewhat frustrating trying to find sports content today, and 24% feel, quote, very frustrated. I can tell you, I do find it frustrating. I think I've mentioned to you, I get really annoyed at having to bounce between traditional pay TV and Peacock when I'm trying to watch my Premier League. And remembering which league is covered where is a major bother. Like in the soccer world, Premier League world, FA Cup is on ESPN Plus, European Cup is on Paramount Plus, and the regular British League is on Peacock and traditional pay TV. So that's a real pain in the ass to really track where all of that is going on. Now, the interesting thing is, we mentioned ESPN. ESPN actually has launched a feature called Where to Watch. And what they're doing here is they are telling people that are subscribed to the ESPN app where to watch content, even if it's not on ESPN. I think this is a great feature. It's a really good idea. And Hub was actually asking people how that impacted their view of ESPN. And 70% said that ESPN's Where to Watch feature would make their sports viewing experience easier. And I know this is something that Roku is also investing in with their Sports Zone. And they said that 60% said that feature, Sports Zone, would make their sports viewing experience easier. And this is, I think, a really big area of investment. As it's such a pain point, it's a great advantage for these platforms to create an area where people can come and find. And in the case of ESPN, well, it's just another value add. This is quite an expensive service, $30 a month. And so they need to justify themselves, I think, to everybody that subscribes, and it's a great way of doing it. And it turns out that avid sports fans they're the ones that are most likely to subscribe, of course, to ESPN. Also the most likely to be impacted here, right? Hub asked, are you more likely to sign up for a streaming service that has exclusive complete rights to a sport you follow? And among regular respondents, it was just 60% said that they were somewhat or very likely. But nearly, it's 71% of avid sports fans and 39% are much more likely. So this type of feature, I think, is really going at a real big pain point in the market right now. So I would expect other people who are interested in sports like Peacock and other TV OSs to maybe start investing in features like that based on what I'm seeing in this hub data.
Agreed. I think it is a real pain point for sports fans. I would categorize myself as a light sports fan, and I know how challenging it can be to try to figure out where stuff is that I want to watch and try to hunt it down. So an aggregator type of search feature, if you will, what ESPN is doing, also Roku, I think, to your point, does solve a real pain point in the market and adds value to the service. As you say, ESPN, $30 a month. Any new value they can create, even if it drives viewers out of the app, it still gives them value to come back to use that feature, only enhances the value proposition of subscribing. So I like that. And I would also say that I think this problem is only going to get worse going forward because we see, we see more and more streaming services trying to take a bite out of sports. We know from the recent antenna data that sports and big TV programming moments are by far the biggest driver of new subscriptions. And that, I think, is now well understood throughout the industry. So there's going to be an ever bigger emphasis on sports and streaming going forward, which, of course, only creates more confusion for viewers.
Yeah. And one of the things that happened this week as well was to sort of crystallize this thought, Will, was that Roku launched an NCAA feature in its Sports Zone to aid people in finding where they can watch the games. And this is a really interesting approach that they're taking here, because the games apparently are primarily on Paramount Plus and on HBO Max in the streaming world. And in their push, what they're doing is they're sort of nudging people. If you don't have this service, you can subscribe to the service through the Roku channel. And then when you come here to the NCAA Sports Zone, you'll be able to, I guess, link directly into those games. So you won't have to, you don't have to leave and go into another app or do anything else, because, of course, the Roku channel is built into the Roku experience. And so it's very easy for you to just simply tune to the game. So that's a sort of very interesting approach where Roku has made a very big push in this area of reselling SVOD services like Paramount Plus and HBO Max. That's an area where they think that they can grow a lot. And seeing how the antenna data, how powerful it's been for Amazon channels, there's obviously a lot of opportunity for Roku to grow quite big in this area too, bearing in mind that they continue to dominate the smart TV OS scene in the US. The vast majority of TVs sold in the US, or not the vast majority, but the most TVs, smart TV OS powered TVs, are Roku powered TVs. That continues to be the case in the US. So that's a great platform for them. And it actually crystallizes for me that maybe this is a better opportunity for the TV OSs to sort of invest in even than ESPN. Even though it's a great feature for avid sports fans, many of us are sports fans and of some description, and figuring out where a big game that week is actually happening is a major undertaking if you're not following that league in detail. we're less motivated to find where those games are until there's a big game that everybody's watching and that we want to watch too. So I think this could be an area that all of the major TV OSs begin to invest in, and could be a very fruitful one for them to help drive usage and differentiate themselves.
Yeah, I think it's all fair points, and I think we're very much in agreement that sports is going to become a bigger part of the streaming landscape, bigger part of the value prop across all streaming services. So more consumer confusion ahead, and opportunity for OEMs and for major sports players like ESPN.
Yeah, you bet. And it just goes to show how big the swing towards streaming has become. I'm noted in Nielsen's latest gauge numbers, they're saying 47% of all TV watching last month was in streaming, but that also doesn't reflect the fact that the virtual MVPDs, folks like YouTube TV and Sling TV, are included actually in the cable and broadcast numbers, not in the streaming numbers. So it's actually much higher than 47%. And since all of that, you can, somebody like a Roku and an ESPN can get their arms around everything in the streaming world, not just the SVOD apps. That's an opportunity there, I think, for them to even attack a much broader swath of sports viewing, because they're already able to direct people into the virtual MVPDs. So lots of opportunity there, I think, to consolidate.
I hear you, and we will be continuing to monitor that, especially what we talked about today with ESPN, and also with this Verts initiative from Disney. Yep.
And it just goes to show, Will, that you can give a better experience, I think, in the streaming world than we used to be able to in just the traditional pay TV. The features like Verts just really emphasizes the difference there. But anyway, I think that's probably just about enough for this week.
I think it is. So good chatting with you, Colin, and enjoy the weather out there. We will here in Boston as well. And thanks everybody for listening in this week, and we'll see you all again. Inside the Stream is a production of In-Screen Media and Video News, all rights reserved.